Mr. Speaker, ngā mihi nui kia koutou kia ora. I welcome the chance to start the conversation on our head of state. I believe it's time for New Zealand to have the conversation. Changing demographic trends, the monarchy's growing clash with our culture and sense of egalitarianism, and our cherished democratic principles all mean constitutional change is inevitable. Tonight we have maybe a once-in-a-lifetime chance, and what do we gain from putting off the inevitable debate? The Green MPs will tonight be voting in support of Keith Lock's Head of State Referenda bill, which will give Kiwis the chance to vote whether we should investigate changing our constitution. I'd like to pay tribute to Keith and what's been a 7-year journey up to this evening. A few months back I was sworn in as an MP and recited an oath pledging allegiance to the Queen and her heirs. It's so jarring as a Kiwi to be pledging loyalty to a foreign lady, albeit a nice grandmotherly one who lives on the other side of the world. Never met her, never seen her, never voted for her, yet because of a quirk of history, she's our head of state and I have to pledge allegiance to her if I wanted to take my seat in this honourable House. For years we've avoided the conversation. Let's have an informed discussion at the Select Committee. Now we have the chance. New Zealand with the Queen as our head of state is like the stereotypical adult still living at home with its parents. We're like that grown-up adult who maybe talks about getting their own place, who maybe concedes it's one day inevitable they'll move out. For that stereotypical stay-at-home adult, even if your mates who left the nest earlier laugh at you and say you're not independent, you argue, hey, it's all pretty cruisy being at home, doesn't mean much, or like Simon Bridges says, it's not really that pressing to be leaving right now. Like that stereotypical stay-at-home adult, sure, New Zealand's got our independence in practice. We can stay out as late as we want, do our own washing, even bring a partner home. But hey, it's embarrassing to bring her home to the place where you're under your parents' roof, where their rules rule. New Zealand's situation is just like this. New Zealand is not regarded as a fully independent nation, independent of the United Kingdom. It's time we start that conversation. Do we stay or do we pluck up the courage to step out on our own, get a flat, get some furniture and be master of our own house? Or do we want to stay with Granny? It's time to have the debate. It's inevitable. I'm sure most members in this House would agree with former Prime Minister Jim Bolger that it is inevitable. All the trends point towards constitutional change one day. Why avoid talking about it now? Our current head of state clashes with our sense of place in the world. We're no longer the Britain of the South Seas. Our links to Britain are in decline. It hasn't been since 1973 since Britain was our largest trading partner. And at the last census, 879,000 people, which was 22% of our total population, were not born in New Zealand. We're an independent, multicultural nation in practice. We should have a debate if we should be that in theory. Our current head of state clashes with our young people's vision of the future. A new generation is growing up that sees New Zealand as a proud, independent country, more Pacific than European. My generation has grown up with a Britain in the EU, an NZ out of ANZUS, and our biggest trading partner, now Chinese. Research from 2008 shows support for the monarchy was lowest in those aged 15 to 39 and strongest in those aged over 60. That means constitutional change is inevitable. And lastly, our current head of state clashes with our culture and egalitarianism. Our head of state institution is discriminatory. Only recently, and with provisions, can Catholics and women become a head of state. It goes against the Human Rights Act that protects against discrimination on the basis of sex, age, religion and ethnicity. Let's ask the people if we want a head of state 1,600 miles away who's only been here 10 times since 1954 and who leads a very different life to anyone in this country. Let's have the debate on how this will impact on Te Tiriti o Waitangi. Let's be open that the Queen has devolved all responsibility to the New Zealand Government, but that a special relationship exists between the Crown and iwi. Let's have the discussion and assure there is no risk that governments could use republicanism to evade treaty responsibilities. We can delay this important debate for another few years or decades, but why? To members opposite, I urge you to pluck up the courage and give us the chance to have this important debate at a select committee. In summary, Mr. Speaker, this is an important debate about who we are as a nation. We are a democratic nation and should be emphasising that power should come from the people, from tangata whenua, not governed by a foreigner, someone 1,600 miles away. I will be voting with Keith Lock's bill and supporting opening the discussion. It's time for Kiwis to decide. Let's have that debate.